please welcome Jocelyn Coleman. She is not only one of the most talented master intuitives I've ever met, but we've known each other 16 years. She is a master intuitive to the celebrity world, which is really awesome. And she has been on numerous publications, podcasts, television networks, you name it. She is absolutely amazing. The first time I got a reading by her 16 years ago, I was 26 years old. Holy moly. And it was love at first sight. I wouldn't let her out of my life ever again after that first reading. Because all of us have had readings, and I actually had someone tell me one time that I exercised, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. What gave that away, right? It was just funny. Like I've had such vague readings, very vague. And when Jocelyn reads you, you leave saying, what the just happened? How in the world is this even possible? And it really opens your mind to the fact that there is really another world besides here. There's really something else that exists, right? And she really is just brutally honest, which I love. The biggest heart of anybody I know, and just truly an amazing person. So I am so excited to have her with us tonight because, of course, she's a mom, just like a lot of us in our Mighty Mamas United group. And what better to have a master intuitive mother of two be here tonight to talk about finding our mother's intuition, because we all feel that we've got this sixth sense, right? We all have this intuition, but when do we really hone in on it? And when do we start to recognize our children's intuition? And she's going to talk a little bit about recognizing our children's intuition and how to react to it and how to see what's happening and really be able to tune into the things that they see that we may blow off or not even know. So it's not just about us, but it's even about our kids and understanding the power that they have that we may not even know is there. So, one question I love to always ask Jocelyn, and I wanted to share with you guys tonight is how, like, we all feel we've got this intuition, right? But how did you know? Like, how do you know you have a gift? And like, Jocelyn, how did you even discover your talent? How young were you, and how did you become who you are? Because, you're just like, for me, you're like my God. So
right.
How did this happen? Tell us.
Well, first of all, I don't know that I'm going to be able to live up to all of that. Okay. However, and for everybody that knows me that is on this call, it wasn't me that was late. Okay. I just want you to know. And now you know why I don't use Zoom meetings.
But her energy. So guys, you know me, I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry, but you guys know that I've done how many of these calls, and I've never, ever been, I use the Zoom link 3 times a week with my class. And she was joking around saying, I don't use technology because every time I try it, technology doesn't work. And it's true, it doesn't. And tonight just proves that she's got some crazy power over even technology. But anyway, sorry about being late. It's really your fault, Joss. I don't care what you say. But so tell us. Yeah.
So for me, I realized that, I didn't know any different because this is just always who I've been, right? But at 7 years old was the first real memory, first real cognitive memory I can have of, okay, Koji, you want to join in on this too? And I was in my living room playing as a little girl, and this feeling came over me that my grandfather had died. And I was playing Barbies, and I just had this feeling come over me that my grandfather had died. There was no expectation of him leaving. It was, it wasn't sick. And within, it's that 2-second delay that the phone rang, and my mother, of course, started crying that my grandfather had passed away. And I would dream things exactly the way that they would happen. There was a 10 alarm fire 2 doors down from us, and I kept dreaming of this fire. And of course it happened. So as a child, I always knew when somebody was going to die. So you can just imagine that was scary for me, because the little kid in me is like, did I do something? Did I make this happen? Right? Did I think this to happen? In school, I would think that the teachers could read my mind because, first of all, I thought everybody was like me. And because I would always know what they were going to do. So it's been forever. It's just how I'm wired. And to answer your question as well about children, most kids, first of all, we're all intuitive. Every single one of us has intuition. And just like any other faculty, it just really depends on how much you use it or develop it. Some of us have a stronger, we're pre-wired, if you will, a little bit stronger, but it takes a lifetime of really going into that space and building that energy and honoring it. So yes, for me, it was 7, and it led me on a path. I would do things like I remember that one of those moments, I was 11 and I had a doctor's appointment at Mass General. So my mother took me to the Tremont tea room, right, back in the day. And I thought like I came into like, this was everything. These were my people, right? These were my people. And I was just fascinated. And as I got older, I would skip school and go to the tea room, right? Because I just wanted to be around people that were doing what I wanted to learn to be better at. So it's been a lifetime of following this path of spirituality, awakening, the mystery school student. I am a lifelong student. I'm probably going to die with my behind in a circle somewhere. But it's, I've done things like studied different devotions, whether it be psychology, even astrology, numerology, you name it, any kind of modality that helps us to understand ourselves better, right? Because that's really, when you start to work with me, anybody that is on this that knows, you begin to study the most fascinating subject you will ever study, and that is yourself, right? We are the most fascinating subjects in our life, right? And once you become a mom, you see these little yous, right? these little offshoots of you, and being a mom, you get it, right? When you're pregnant, women are naturally more intuitive than men because our body is made of more water. We have an inner moon, right? Our uterus is our inner moon, so it connects to the phases of the moon. And just like the phases of the moon, we go from waxing to waning to full, right? We go through all of these cycles that are connected to emotions. That's why people are called lunatics, right? Because the moon affects our emotions and it affects our energy always. It moves the tides. It does all of that. So every single person is intuitive by nature. And there's a difference because lots of people ask the difference between being an intuitive or a psychic, which for a long time I had a big reaction. I didn't want people to call me a psychic, right? Because there's all of the connotation that goes along with it. It took me a long time, even just into the past couple years, that I'm comfortable with that term. But when you think of the word psychic, psychiatrist, psychologist, the root word of all of that is psyche, which just means soul. So as a psychic, we're able to connect with another soul to soul. And that's really what it's about. And the difference between a psychic and a medium, there are different, there's a differentiation that all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. One is born a medium. Anybody can develop their intuitive nature. You can't learn to be a medium. You can learn to be a better medium, but you can't learn to be a medium. You either are or you aren't. And until I can come up with a better analogy, because people will say, well, if you're born a medium, aren't you always this way? Well, the analogy I always use is sometimes people will come out in their sexuality later in life, right? And they'll say, well, did they have to get married? Didn't they always know that they were like this, right? Well, what happens, the same thing happens when someone can come clean or come out in their gift or the truth of who they are later in life, is that oftentimes in our younger years, we're shaped by religious the religious dogma or beliefs of our families, society, our family's acceptance or lack of acceptance of who we are. But at some point in your life, you come to terms with who you are, and you can't, who else can you be, right? We can't be anything other than who we are. So I like to use that analogy, because a lot of people will develop into their mediumship later in life, and oftentimes it's triggered by death, right? By a series of death in one's life or experience that makes one more curious about, there's something more, and I know, right? I know what I know, which leads me to speaking about kids, right? Because our kids are just geniuses. We dummy them down over time, right? Kids do not know how to lie. And any mom that's on this understands that you can be with your kids sometimes. It happens usually around 2 or 3. They start saying, I want to go home. And you look at your kid, it's like, you're in your living room. What do you mean you want to go home? Where do you want to go? Because they're closest to where they just came from, right? We come into our life and we're programmed to forget. We fall into the amnesia of humanhood. But children are all knowing. That's what we hear out of the mouths of babes, right? Kids don't know how to lie. We tell them, no, you didn't see that. Or they say, I saw something, or I felt somebody in my room, or I have a friend that I play with, and your mom will say, oh, well, it's your imagination. We need to start to listen to what our kids are saying, and also listening to them in a way that also has them understand that they can talk about anything with us, but it's not always understood outside. You can't just, like, for me, my joke is when people say, I say I hear something, and I say I get paid to hear voices, right? I do get paid to hear voices. There are a lot of people that are very intuitive sitting in insane asylums right now, because if you tell the doctor you hear voices, you know what's going to happen. But lots of us do hear, and clear audience. There are different faculties of intuition, and clear audience is the least of the developed of them all, right? Some of us are clairvoyant, which means we see. We're clairsentient, which means we know. We're clairaudient, which means we hear. But the clairaudient faculty is the rarest frontal faculty, if you will. So when your children are telling you things, you can listen. And as we evolve as humans, our children are wired different, right? The pulse of the planet is quicker than it ever has been. We, as we're evolving as spiritual beings. Yes, we're human and we're spirit, right? We are spirit in a human body, right? That no body lives forever, B-O-D-Y. Every body, B-O-D-Y, dies, but the spirit and the soul are eternal. And when we can begin to honor that which we can't see and pay attention, then the magic in our life really begins, right? So does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, and I think what's so amazing is how many of us have. It's there's so much to what you just said that I'm always like mind blown. I don't think I ever talked to where I'm just like, holy crap, holy shit, But our kids do, and I think what's interesting is this some. I know that for me, I've definitely dreamt of people that I've never met, and I've dreamt of things I've never seen. And I think all of us at this point on this call has probably had a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, I just thought of that person last week. Or we all wonder, like, do I have a talent like and or how does a mom start to, I guess, gain some clarity so she can maybe start to hear things she didn't hear before, or tune out the noise and just try to be more conscious of these things. Like what can you recommend that a mother can do to really hone in on her mother's intuition? Like what would you recommend to just start practicing?
Well, first of all, how can you not be plugged into your children? They baked in your oven for 9 months. They're
For
made
way too long.
they're made of you. Your cells, your DNA, the DNA of your ancestors for thousands of years. We're all made of trillions of cells from thousands of years. We're so naive to think that this is all we are. We're amazing geniuses, all of us. And, you know, in that term, genius, when we think of the word genius, genius comes from our genes, right? The root word is genes. And when we can allow our genius to shine, hence the genie is released, right? And the magic begins. And when we can just learn to listen, right? Just listen. Because what we're really talking about when we talk about mother's intuition, and when we talk about the only thing that's real, Danielle, is love, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
power of love, that connection to your child. You see things where a mother turned over a car, right? Because the child was in danger. We are amazing as women, right? We are amazing. Men are too. I'm not a man hater, right? Men, but we're wired different just because of the way we're molecularly, you know the word I'm going to use, right? I'm going to trip over that, right? But our molecular structure is mostly water. We're more water. We're more viscerous than men. They're more, no, this is not a good word, but they're more dense, right?
Yeah, we could say that.
But I don't mean that, I don't mean it the way it sounds, but they have more musculature than we do. You know that in your work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The anatomy is just different. So we as women are more, and when a man is a really good intuitive or medium, they're amazing, right? We all have feminine and masculine energy, right? The
Mm-hmm.
yin and the yang. So it's the power of love, really, and to just be able to listen to our children, right? To not try to put them in a box, because there really is no, I mean, if I could imagine they let me, I swear a lot, right? I haven't sworn at all in this.
I know. I'm like, what?
And I wasn't late either. I just wanted to say
Anyway,
that.
feel free to just,
No,
let
no,
it
no, no.
all
But,
out.
but
One of
what
my
I'm saying is
favorite qualities.
imagine they let me in, high schools to talk to kids, right? About how they're wired and to give them the real facts of life. So we put all these things on our kids, whether it is, oh, who is that? Is that Isabel?
Yep. Hold on. Yeah,
Hi.
it was.
Sorry, I unmute by mistake. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. We know you want to get in on this.
Oh yeah.
But there's no place that honors the reality of how we're wired for our kids, right? We go to school, we learn math, science, all these other things, but we learn nothing of life, right? We don't learn anything about who we are essentially,
So
or
true.
there's no place for, even recently, I think it's stopped, but they even wanted to take music out of school, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
the things that are of life, the healing modalities of life, aren't really available to us. And we put all these pressures on our kids to think a certain way. We want to medicate them, and if they're stronger in their right brain, right? And the left brain is very organizational, very spatial, right? It's the right brain is completely intuitive. It's creative. Intuition, artistry, our second chakra, right? If you're familiar with the chakra system, the second chakra is the chakra of creativity. It's reproduction. It's where our reproductive organs are, right? And 2 and 5 are struck together. So our ability to speak what we feel, what we see, we don't think of ourselves. Okay, so for a real estate agent, I had a client that was struggling with wanting to be a real estate agent because she didn't think it really had any. She wanted to be an intuitive, right? She wanted to do all these, but just think about a real estate agent. You sit down with somebody and you listen to them, and now you have to intuit, right? A home for this person. You have to envision the home for this person, the right fit, the right vibe, a place that people are going to maybe create a family in, or a place that's going to hold people through difficult times and happy times. And like, we don't think that we're intuiting these things, right? We think, oh, this is my job and this is, no, but you have to feel into that person, right? To find the right fit or match for them. And we use our intuition in so many different ways, but we think that only somebody else outside of us can do that. Mm-hmm. And it's true that when we have to think about things, we should consult somebody else. Every dentist needs a dentist, right? So we to do, I don't read myself. Well, there are times my kids would say growing up, Mom, that's not fair, right? And I tried my best not to snoop, right? What we call psychic snooping. But when it's your children, when you can feel something off with them, you have to act on it, right? And again, respectfully, always respecting boundaries, because as you know, I've been the butt of jokes for a long time. I grew up in an Italian family. This isn't something that has been, oh great, this is what she's going to do for a living. They like think I'm crazy, right? Of course. But or people will say to me, well, are you reading my mind? And my pat line is, it's very presumptuous for you to think that I believe you have one, right? So, but it's all about boundaries. It's not, when I'm in my work, I'm in my work. When I'm in my life, I'm in my life, right? So if I'm somewhere, I'm never looking into somebody else's personal business. Just like if I was at your home and you went into the bathroom, I wouldn't start going through your wallet or your pocketbook, right? There's boundaries, right? You just always are respectful of those. But our kids, back to our kids again, right? Our kids are just brilliant, and if we encourage them and we listen to them rather than shut them down, they're going to be more willing to speak about those things and ask. And if you don't have an answer, you find somebody.
I was just going to ask you that, Joss. I was just
Right.
going to say, so say, your kid does say something that, like, for example, my son he's been having past year, it's been like nightmare city, like just constantly he has nightmares. I don't know. First thing you think of is, well, what did he watch? Was it the dinosaur movie? But then you start to wonder, is there anything else going on? Like, why is he so scared at night? Why do the dreams mean something else? Or if they say something like, I feel off, or I think I saw this, like you said, or even an imaginary friend, like, yeah, what do you say? Like, how do you react? Do you just take it in and then ask someone like you for advice? Is that what you would recommend doing? Or is there something you could say in a temporary time frame to just kind of soothe them?
Or tell me more about it, right? Tell me
Yeah.
more about it. What frightened you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because kids in their nightmares often, and for us as well, as we get older, they're as they begin to dream, they'll see things that they don't recognize in their home, right? And oftentimes our loved ones in spirit, whether it's our parents or our grandparents, that come closer to the children, right, at night. And the kids can see because the veil is very thin. It happens at the beginning of life and it happens at the end of life. Like my dad is 97 and he's getting ready to get ready, right? So he'll say things and he'll see people. It's like, there's a party going on in the next room, he'll tell me, and so came, because the veil is very thin between the worlds. So somebody else will say, oh, there's sundowning, and there is some of that at certain points, right, because of other things, but mostly they're telling you what they see because they don't have they're they can't delineate time, right? Because they're all places at once. So they begin to see people. They'll begin, and the same thing happens for children, but they don't recognize them from here, right? So it scares them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And kids, how old is Giorgio now? Is he 6?
Yeah, he'll be 7 in September, but yeah, he's
And
almost
that,
7.
right, that's what I'm telling you. That's around the age where it happens, is like 6 or 7 that you
Mm-hmm.
start to know. But you don't know that you know because you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you can talk to your mom, or you can talk to your dad, or you can talk to an auntie or a friend about, this is what I'm feeling. And always trust kids. If kids don't want, I trust kids and dogs. Kids and dogs. If they don't like somebody, you pay attention, because their intuition is so spot on. And
Mm-hmm.
and we come from Italian families. Oh, go hug your creepy uncle, right? It's like, no, it knows. Uncle doesn't even have to do anything yet for him to know there's something off with that uncle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So honoring our kids and listening and not downplaying them. I never talked to my kids like they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I just always honored them as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's, I mean, there are things, of course, that is little TMI. There are those boundaries, but don't speak down to your children. Your children are very intelligent. We teach them to dummy down to match our intelligence sometimes, right? It's just true.
Yeah, they really do though. I feel like they like my son can know something's wrong without me saying anything. He just knows. And sometimes we think that they're so little. We have this like thing we're always like, they're so resilient, they're resilient. And we can just feel like we can just constantly, I mean, I've been guilty of doing it where I'm like, he doesn't know what's going on. He's only, but then he knows. He'll be like,
Everything.
he knows everything. I'm like, that little, you know what? How the heck did he even know? Without me even saying anything, they can feel so much. It's like
And
they know more than they're better at it than we are. Like
yeah, and they have supersonic hearing.
oh my God, yeah.
Do you
And that
think they're
too.
sleeping, right? They hear every little but remember yourself as a child, weren't you that way?
Yeah, oh
Right?
yeah.
And for as a child as well, what I would begin to see at night, like when kids are afraid of the dark, is because you can see more in the dark.
Hmm.
Not because you
Hmm.
can't see in the dark, but you can see more. And I don't know if anybody on this call has had this experience as a child and maybe even into your adulthood, that you start to see dancing light. There'd be like little dots of red or little dots of orange that just dance in front of you, that little dots of, green. The dots of light start to bring you through that sort of what one might even call the rainbow bridge, right? Because there is that place that we cross that are all the colors of the rainbow that bring us to our intuitive sense, right? And
Hmm.
children have more predictive dreams. When we're coming in and developing our intuition, our dreams are more predictive. And wouldn't it be great if we could keep it that way, right? But it's that innocence of it's that has those dreams be those precognitive dreams, right? As we get older, our dreams are always communicating with us. And again, anybody that's listening that has worked with me in the past, they'll call me and say they have a dream. And when you have a dream, you write it down. You write it down, every single bit. The most important part of your dream is the beginning. You write everything. Is it in color? Is it in black and white? Was something to the left? Was something to the right? Was it daytime? Was it nighttime? Because all of these things mean something. And the dream that you thought was this dream that meant this had nothing to do with what the dream was telling you.
Hmm.
So when you break it down, because we interpret things symbolically, everything that in life is symbols, right? The alphabet are symbols. The cavemen, drew in symbols. Hieroglyphics are symbols. Calligraphy and Asian writing is symbols, right? So we interpret things symbolically. So the symbology of the dream may have nothing to do with what it appears to be. It's what does it mean to you? Because the dreamer always knows, but we have to walk the dreamer through a series of, investigation, right? To find out what the dream really means. And the same thing with kids, but mostly with children, their dreams will be predictive
Hmm.
because they're so clear and clean.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So we've been having some people comment. I know, Joss, I know you're not a Zoom chick, but there's a comment box to the side of us, which I have open. And
Hold
so
on.
there's a little chat box and I can even, I'll read it to you. Don't even worry about it. Don't press any buttons.
I'm not pressing anything.
I'll read it to you. So first of all, you're amazing. I love you. And I know there's so many girls here that probably want to ask questions and they already started and they're really good questions too. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you one that pertains to the dreams we're just talking about that Alina had asked. And girls, at this time, any of you that have questions, just go ahead and text them into that chat box and we'll open up to a Q&A right now and get into, I know all of you logged onto this call because you were dying to hear about something specifically if she hasn't already mentioned it. So please, let me put my charger in. Please go ahead and put something in there. In the meantime, Alina had said, and I think I kind of have the same question too. She said, in terms of night terrors, how do you really know, when the kids have night terrors, Do you think, Joss, like, how do you distinguish between, okay, they saw something on TV, right? Like maybe they saw a scary movie, or between something else, like you were talking about, something more spiritual? How is there a way to differentiate that?
Listen, tell me about the dream, right? Of course, always comforting your child, no matter what, because if your child is scared, we want to comfort our kids, right? But
Mhm.
when they do calm down, talk about it. Like, what was it? Because oftentimes somebody that they love will come close to them, right? Can you imagine, God forbid, right? The day will come, we're not going to be here because we're all going to be gone one day, that Giorgio's kids or grandkids, that you wouldn't want to come in and just snuggle right next to them when they were sleeping at night, just like you would if they were there.
Mhm.
But when they sense that energy coming close, it's scary,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And always, and yes, scary movies. I still don't watch scary movies, okay? I just don't
Yeah.
recommend it for your children. You
I
just
know.
don't want to take that energy into their psyche,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody will make fun of me still. I don't even let that in my house. There's no poltergeist, there's none of that, because
Mhm.
you just don't want to open your energy to be influenced by why, for what?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I've actually, Alina had just meant, she just commented too. She said the night terrors, I guess they're the type of night terrors that the child doesn't really remember in the morning. What is your take on night terrors, Joss? In general, because I know like night terrors could be, it's just kind of part of development too, right? Or
It
what do you
is.
think?
It is. But as I said to you, they're coming into things that they haven't seen before,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Things
Right.
you haven't seen before. And at 6 years old, kids get scared of everything. Rides at the amusement park, right? Things that there's just something happens developmentally. And the only thing, as I said to you, have them draw, like, give them some art supplies to draw. Let them to move it out of them, but to always be able to tell you. Just don't tell them it's in their imagination. Tell me what you're afraid of. What is it that scared you? And if it happens continuously, right, that you begin to follow a thread.
Oh, that's a good idea. I love draw a picture of it because kids, yeah, a lot of times their things come on artwork, right? You can tell when your kid's disturbed just by their by their art.
Right.
Like if it's really kind of the colors or what they're drawing, if it looks, yeah, you can really tell. I love that. And say maybe saving the artwork and kind of yeah, just kind of trying to put it together at the end of the day.
And to
Um,
be honest too, right? Because marriage isn't easy, right? And people go through so many different things in their marriage. Kids pick up on energy that their parents are getting along, or their parents aren't getting along, or there's fighting within the family, and they take that with them to bed. That's why I'm
mhm,
saying they have supersonic hearing, right? We
mhm.
think that they've gone to bed, they're not listening. Weren't you a nosy little kid? Of course you were.
Oh, it just happened the other night. It's like I heard you guys saying, and I was like, it's like 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, no, it's true. Molly had a great question here. She said, how do I teach my children to not be afraid and that it's okay to sense or see things? So if they see something and sense it, like how do you teach them to not be afraid? Like what maybe they need to talk to Jocelyn. Bring them to Jocelyn. Joss, what do you say to that?
Well, again, talking with them about it, right? And reminding them that nothing is going to come to hurt them, that they're always safe in your home, right? There is no boogeyman that's going to come. And there aren't evil spirits that are going to come to them. As I'm saying to you over and over again, I can't stress it enough. It's mostly our grandparents or parents that want to be close to our babies. Of course they do, but our
Mhm.
kids get afraid. And just reminding them that nothing is going to hurt them. I have a funny story about Chris, my son. So we were at our other house, and he went in this one night, and there was a woman that kept appearing in my house, right? This woman, and she was in, I would see her, she was in a white dress. I don't see her like I see someone standing there, but I could see and sense her, right? So Chris goes in to give his sister a kiss goodnight, and he goes into her bedroom and comes running into my room, and he says, "Ma, Ma, there was a lady in a white dress next to Nakia. And I said, oh, Chris, nothing's going to hurt you. And here he goes, that's okay. You're old. I'm 11. I'm scared. Push over. So
I love him. I can totally see it. That's amazing. That's incredible. So at 11 years old, he saw something
right. Chris
too.
is so intuitive. Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
Nakia is more empathic. She's more emotionally, and trust me, if Nakia doesn't like somebody, I have learned to pay attention. I have
It's,
learned she's
so it's,
always right.
so
I
to,
told you about that. She'll go, I told you about that one.
yeah, I think I've got a good, that's, if I had to say there's one thing that I feel like I've grasped this, I really do like everybody. I see the good in everybody, and people always go, I can't believe you talked to that girl after what she did. I'm like, well, and I'll find something good. Right. But do you think, and actually, Isabel had an awesome question. So do you think that you pass this down to does someone gifted pass this down to their children, or does it is it like an every other generation thing?
Well, just think about what my kids have grown up in. Hello.
Well, they really know how to be aware because of you,
Well, because,
right?
they've just grown up, I was doing readings the night before I gave birth to Nakia, right? She would be on the table while I was working in a little car seat. Chris would greet people at the door, right? So this is just, the Addams family over here, right? So they they have grown up more open to it. Their friends always want to come over and talk about things, right? Even their teachers, would invite me to do certain things. Or I love when I get calls from mothers that their kids are going through that little brat stage, right? And they'll take them here. And one lady said to me after she brought, I had asked Nakia, because back then I didn't really see kids under 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was having problems with her daughter, and her daughter was 11. So I asked Nakia, I said, what do you think about me working with kids this age? She said, Mom, I don't know what I would do without you and, your friends that do what you do. It's got me through so much. So yes. So this woman brought her daughter, it was 11, and they didn't speak. So she called me later. She said, oh my God. She said, I could have just drove forever. When she did not stop talking the whole time in the car.
Wow.
There's something very powerful as you experience it. I don't ever let anybody speak to me. I'm very famous for telling people to just shut up. Right?
I know.
Shut up, right?
You're like, who's doing the reading? You always go, who's doing the reading? And I'm like, right. Okay, sorry.
Because it's hard to not jump in, especially when something's really juicy, right? But there's something very powerful about being witnessed, right? There's something powerful about when you sit there and you don't have to say a word and somebody just speaks for you, things that you may have judged, things that you felt shameful of. But when you hear it out loud, it doesn't sound that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when you can hear it out loud from somebody that doesn't know you, that isn't flinching, right, or reacting in a way that is just present with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people that may even, I don't know who's on this call that I know, one of the things that I love about my work in this too is that oftentimes people's children will use me to let their parents know they're coming. Right.
I think it's genius that you talk to children. I think
But I'm talking about pre-birth, right? People that their children before they're born. Lots of children will use me to let their parents know that they're coming.
Oh.
And even people that go through, I don't make shit up. I just don't. I'm not that person that's going to sugarcoat something for you. If you want sugar, you can go to the candy store. But I don't ever try to make somebody feel better. I take my work very seriously. And oftentimes it's been that anchor for some people that have gone through maybe infertility or challenges, multiple miscarriages, whatever, knowing or hearing your baby's coming. Mm-hmm. Right? Your baby is coming. And or that have no idea, that really weren't, You know, when I tell people that they were babies, I didn't do it, right? I didn't make anybody pregnant. And if I talk about somebody leaving, I didn't kill anybody either. I just want to know I'm just the messenger. But I love that babies oftentimes use me to prepare their parents for their arrival, which is so cool.
That's amazing.
That's what I love.
That's so awesome. We have a question from Christina. Christina K says, oh wait, hold on. There was one before that. Hold on. Christy Ryan says, when my son was 3 years old, he's now 21. Oh wow, congrats. That's so awesome. He asked me out of the blue, where do people go when they die again? Where do people go when they die again? I asked him what he meant. Then he wouldn't go forward with the conversation. Was he remembering a past life?
No, he was just remembering where he came from when they die again, right? When we return to the spirit world. We go back to where we came from. That's why I'm saying when children come in, they remember everything. I have this theory. It's my own theory. It's nothing I can prove, but I'm just going to tell you what it is if you want to know it. You know, when we're born, you know, every baby has a soft spot, which is our crown chakra, right? Right here is where our crown chakra is. It's kind of like where a halo would be, right? And so our seventh chakra is completely open, the soft spot that is babies. And as the bones fuse, yes, they do need to fuse to protect your brain. That's real. But it also, that's when the forgetting begins, as the sunroof begins to close, right? And we begin to harden our skull. We begin to forget. We're stepping more and more into humanhood, right? So the seventh chakra is that connection. It's where the divine speaks. It's where our prayers and our, you know, our connection to the heavens are. So we return to that from which we came.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I can still remember one specific dream when I was really little, really little. I must have been 4 or 5, but there's still this one dream. And I wonder if everyone else has that one dream that you never forget that was super unexplainable. It's from a different world, not here. I don't know how to even explain it, but I still remember that one dream. And I was so little about dreaming of, almost like I had a dream of the Masters, which is interesting. I don't know if that makes sense, but I had this dream of like they didn't even have real faces. They were just golden. And I just knew they were a higher being and wasn't here. And that's it. But I feel like, I wonder how many of us here have had one experience of this dream that you just can't, like that spiritual dream from when you were a kid. So anyways, I think it's really interesting to really talk to your children and listen, because yeah, sometimes we're just like, the nightmare thing, I think, is a lot of in dreams for us are so amazing. And so if we could really just start to like hone in on them, it's really just an incredible thing. Christina, she says, mom has a great great nephew coming to summer camp with us this summer. He is 15 and still has night terrors. If this happens while he is here, how do I comfort him as not his mom?
Oh, Christina, you know you'll be calling me.
Probably
Right?
this probably,
It
but
is
I mean,
Christina will be calling me. I
Christina
know.
K, you gotta call Jaws, but wow, 15 years old, still having
Yeah,
terrors. That's tough. That's tough.
well, I would also venture to imagine that this kid has had some trauma. That's what I just heard. Feels like there's been some trauma. Is that correct, Christina?
Go ahead and you can respond right in the message, Christina.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm feeling that this particular kid has had some trauma, and he's also highly intuitive, right? Why am I feeling lots of like music or writing around him as well? Who's the musician around him?
Him.
Right. That's what I just said.
Very creative, and he's very hyper and you know, his dad is a colonel. He's on Joint Chiefs and stuff, and his dad Jason has done I think like 15 deployments. And so dad wasn't really around growing up, and dad is around now. And so they have a very different dynamic worldview.
Right. That's what, because I'm feeling a lot of trauma around him.
Mhm.
And it may even be the trauma of living in different places, right? The different, just never feeling quite at home and safe. And especially if he has a dad that's been deployed a lot, or he's always on the edge of fear. God
Mhm.
forbid, God forbid, God forbid, I would imagine.
Oh, that makes, okay, I got it.
Right? The reality of how many people have been lost, or it's common
Mhm.
talk in his home, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yes. The other thing I wanted to say about kids um, is the flying thing, right? Does anybody have kids that say they can fly?
I'm still
Right?
flying in my dreams.
What you do, what we actually are doing, is that we're actually projecting. So we're just energy. Everything is energy. Everything. So we're just sometimes lifting up out of our bodies, and we can watch what's happening. So believe your kids when they tell you they can fly. Don't let them jump out the window or anything. But that happens a lot at nighttime, that we actually project. Many people probably have had that experience themselves, no?
I still have them
Yeah.
constantly. So wait, when you're actually dreaming you're flying, are you really leaving yourself? Is that what you mean?
There's two different, there's the flying dreams, right? That's a whole other, Jungian Freudian thing, right? But there's also when you actually feel like you can see yourself in your bed. Have you ever
Mm.
seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's when you're actually projecting, your energy body is leaving, and you can see the physical body, because you can do that, right? We can do remote viewing. We can actually be where we are and see what's going on someplace else. There's lots of things we can do.
So amazing. This table, Jocelyn, what is this the table? Do you still do the table? You told me about the table before. I've never been on your table. Do you still
Oh,
do that?
yeah, that's for advanced students.
I'm scared. I want to do that. I want to do that sometime. At some point, I need to do it. But let's take a peek what other people are saying. This is amazing. I can't believe you just figured out that 15-year-old. I can believe it actually, but within 2 seconds, you're like, and boom, microphone drop. We figured that out. That was awesome. Wasn't expecting that. Of course, you always amaze me. Nicole says that you knew Max was coming. You talked about knowing when someone's gonna be born. I think that's what she's speaking about.
Nicole.
Nicole Murata.
Hi.
Let's see. Oh, someone had asked, I think Isabel, is it safe to do intuitive work while pregnant?
Of course.
Yes. So actually, I'd be curious.
You're even more intuitive. Just think, your uterus
Yeah.
is full of water. You're full of amniotic fluid in another life with a cord and antenna, right? Of course, you're so intuitive.
Let's see. You got me through. Oh, and Nicole said, just to share this with anyone else on the call that might have been going through this, you got me through years of infertility treatments. You gave me hope. Oh, getting lump in my throat. So sweet. And Alina said she has had that dream over and over again. Me too, Alina. Maybe we'll fly together during our dreams one night. We'll go somewhere fun. Does anyone else have any questions? I know it's 9:30. I know it's getting late. I could sit here all night, talk to Jocelyn, but does anyone else have any other questions? Because we are going to wrap this up because it is getting on the later side, but I want to make sure everyone's got their questions answered. And girls, if you just need guidance, you need someone that's truly going to, give it to you, give it to you real, and you just really need to talk to someone that's not a family member. Sometimes it's really nice to just talk to someone that's not a family member, is not going to judge you, is not going to hold it against you. Just someone that can really give you probably the best advice ever. I encourage you to contact Jocelyn. I will put her information up on this page. This is a recorded session, just so you guys know. Since I couldn't put it live in the Mighty Mama group, I will post it to the group. And I'll also post underneath it how to contact her. Are you doing in person or over the phone right now, Jocelyn?
Still doing over the phone, although I haven't done a groups in so long, but I've had people call me to do groups, so I booked a group coming up, so that'll be interesting.
At the house?
No, I'm gonna go out and do it. I haven't done that in years.
That's how I met you at a group at a house. We
you
had like,
remember
you
that?
know, it was like 10 of us, you guys. I went in to see her. I didn't know what I was getting myself into that day. I was like, oh, reading. I've never had a good reading before. I always wanted one, but I left the room like with the emotions. It was so just amazing. I was like, ah, how old was I, 25?
Oh, I must have been 27 at the time.
Oh God, the cackle just goes to show how young. I'm like, ah. Oh my God, yeah, I was so blown away. And then I continued to have Jocelyn come to as many. I would have parties at my house just so I could have Jocelyn come over and do readings. And everybody that leaves the room was like, what the fuck? I just gonna say it's like, what? How does someone know that? And so, but not only does she know, she's really great at helping you through the situation too, not just like telling you, but if you need that guidance, she's just a wonderful, wonderful.
Well, I think that readings are one of the most most misunderstood and most powerful tools for personal development and growth, right? Because you get to see things yourself. You get to see yourself, right, from your story read to you and lots of different perspectives on things, right? You get to see what your choices might be, or, because it's always up to you. We all have free will. So it's always, when I say it's a possibility of it happening, because once there is such a thing as fate, right? But we shape our destiny by the choices that we make. So we actually can change that, right? By making choices. So we laid out, this is the possibility, but if you do this, this is what's possible. If you do that, that is what's possible. Everybody wants a magic cure, right? Everybody wants you to tell them. And then we have the psychic junkies, right? That will go from reader to reader to reader to reader until they find the person that's going to give them what they want to hear. Or they, then start to say, well, that's, because any reader that's worth, I mean, when you think about how you know me for a long time, right? You think about constantly educating myself. I've been doing this work for 40 years, and I still am constantly educating myself, right? So when you think of all that one puts into it, it's the difference between going to a clinic and going to a specialist, right?
Mhm.
That there is a differentiation in the sophistication of the work, right? In the language of the work, and the range and the tools available to someone, because there are people out there that aren't responsible. They'll do things just to scare you, or you just, it's a powerful seat you sit in when somebody is vulnerable and opening their heart and their soul to you. There's a responsibility that one has about how to show up for that and not take advantage of someone, right?
Mhm.
So that's real too. That's a whole other conversation, how to choose a reputable person,
Mhm.
right? That's important.
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, geez, especially if you guys live in Massachusetts. I mean, you got Salem for God's sake right there. That's like everybody's saying they're everything. You don't know really who you can trust, but I can tell you guys one thing. If you've never had a reading, once you go to once you go to Jocelyn, you'll never be able to go to anybody again. And if you do, you're gonna see the difference. I can tell you that much.
And there are lots of really talented, gifted people out there, but when there's somebody for everybody, right? And it's
True.
knowing you're somebody. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't love what I get to do every day. For me, this is how I describe my work with people. It's like sitting with your best friend, right? Because it's not possible that I could know some of the things that I know and connect at such a deep level, right? You have to experience it I get more out of it than anybody, because I just, how deeply I love. It's a problem for me, right? I just love very deeply, but it's an honor to get to do what I do every day. There's never a day I wake up. If I don't want to work, it's because I don't feel well.
Mhm.
And, but even then I'll work, right? But I just never not want to work, because it's not work to me. It's just a joy. So
Well, I can't wait to talk to you on Monday. I'm really excited about my upcoming reading. It's been a while for me. And girls, again, I will put Jocelyn's contact information for any of you that are interested. And girls, thank you so much for showing up here tonight and giving us your time. And Jocelyn, you're awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
This was amazing. And I think all of us are going to be listening to our kids a lot more. We're going to be like, talk to me. Like, how cool is that? I mean, I'm dying to hear what happens in the morning when I wake up. Like, so Giorgio, what did you dream about last night? Okay, now I want to know everything.
Stories.
Yeah. Now I'm going to be like listening to his door. But anyone, if you've got any other questions, I know Jocelyn is part of our Mighty Mamas United group. So after this post, like again, friend, if you're not her friend on Facebook, friend her on Facebook. Are you on Instagram, Joss?
I am.
All right, I'll put your handle in the. I do use Instagram.
Yeah, I do.
You do, okay. So she's got her Instagram, her Facebook. I'll put all of the information so you can follow her and any other information that you'll need to get a hold of her. And I guess that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Joss, I love you.
Love
I'll
you
talk
too,
to you
Minnie.
super soon. And I hope you guys all found some really great value and learned something new tonight. And look forward to seeing you on our next monthly show next month. I don't know how we're going to top this one, but we'll figure it out.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Good night. Get some rest. Dream something good. Okay. Bye.
Bye.